Hello, 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 hello. Just getting the phone up so I can be on Zoom and then also on YouTube. So, hello, Zoom folks. Welcome, welcome. We'll see whether more of our Trusting Your Visions folks get into the Zoom room, but after we do this YouTube live workshop on, this is our day 4 workshop. So we're going to be doing some Oracle-based decision-making tools and doing some sort of rapid fire questions and answers, really getting some intuitive clarity, I think. I hope, anyways. We've spent the first 3 days sort of clearing the path and tapping in. And now is a good time for us to get some questions answered. And then we'll go into the Zoom room, which I'm pointing at my phone here. We'll go into the Zoom room after and do some live Q&A or workshopping or just check-ins or whatever support that we need in the Zoom room. So welcome, everyone. Beautiful, beautiful. Would love to know how your week is going. So whether you're watching this live now or if you're watching it in the replay, just let me know. I'll put the chat up on my Zoom as well, just so I can see as things come in. Okay. I am in a new spot, obviously. I feel like that's going to be the case at least 3 or 4 more times during the course of this 6-week journey together. So just get used to it. It's a strange part about the way that I live is I'm often in new environments and really trusting my visions to get to each and every single one. I was just talking about it today, actually, that it is really surprising how I've been able to get from place to place somehow in the midst of this year. And at the same time, not surprising because it has really been following my intuition. And so, in many ways, this year has marked a very different year where I really have just said, I'm going to try and stop fighting against the current, at least as far as the where I'm going to be and when. um, yeah, so it's been interesting, challenging, and rewarding all in one. I like that. We're having comments on how this journey's been going so far. I usually wait a few minutes just to see as people show up here. But either way, I'll begin our workshop with a little bit of breath, I believe. It'd be nice if I had candles. I might have a candle. One moment. I think I do. I do. It's in this beautiful amethyst holder, which is incredible. And I can't obviously take this with me on my travels because it's so heavy. So I am not here for very long. I'm only here for 2 evenings, but this is where all of my things are in the world, other than a bunch of books in Ontario. So we'll light our candle to begin our session. So thank you to all of our guides who are with us this evening. Thank you to all the nature spirits. I was just connecting to a lot of the Scottish Highlands land today. And so I'm feeling very connected to the nature spirits, especially. There's a fire crackling in the distance. There's a field outside and animals nearby, a forest nearby. It's important, I think, just to slow down and take a moment sometimes and reflect on actually all the support that we do have, all the beauty that we do have, to slow down and to be grateful. Grateful for these little tea lights that I found so I could do this with all of you. Going to place it into this amethyst crystal holder. So epic. Oh, then it went out. Grateful for smoke. Perfect. So we'll glow in the distance here with us. Maybe I'll put it safely over here. Okay. So let's just take a deep breath to connect all together. take maybe 3 deep breaths. 3 is a nice number. So inhaling and releasing. Oh, 2 more deep breaths, just slowing ourselves down, feeling into our body, getting back to where we belong. Just realizing I have ash on my shirt, ash and dirt from my fire. Another inhale whenever you're ready. And an exhale, just releasing, melting into this present moment where we are. Now, I will be looking at the YouTube screen, but anyone who joins in um, on the Zoom, if you're part of the Trusting Your Visions journey, I sent this out in an email, so just go double check your emails. Then you can join us on the Zoom. And I know a lot of the people get the Trusting Your Visions journey, like purchase the whole journey because they want to continue and they want to see all of the things. Like this week, we're fully public for all of the different videos, but in the next coming weeks, I'll only be sharing little bits of it and we'll be doing the deeper dives within the group. So I know that some of the folks get it just so that they can watch the replays because they may not be able to show up to all of our live calls here. Okay. So, I'm curious if you've created some questions. Hopefully you have, but either way, you can come up with them as we talk here too. And we're not going to be here for a crazy long time. I'm going to try and teach this quickly. I've taught this many, many, many times before. I'm going to try and teach this in a concise and a succinct way. And then, of course, to do the workshopping, to do troubleshooting at any point, if you join up the Trusting Your Visions journey, if you join as a Star All Access member at Oracle Fest, then you can come in and ask questions anytime in the WhatsApp, and I'll happily answer and help you through whatever we're working through that day. So if you go and watch the replay, but then you go, oh, I really want to ask her questions about, say, the pendulum, then yeah, then we'll go deal with that later. So first, I really want to use the pendulum. I'm just double checking that is what I have next here. Yes. So, what I am aiming for, what I'm intending and wishing for today is that all of the answers we receive and the truth and the guidance that we receive is for our highest and best good. So we are looking for answers that support us in the best way right now. And that doesn't always mean, and this is going to be a bit, I don't know, controversial or confusing, maybe. Hopefully, I'll say it clear enough for you here. But I really truly believe that we receive the information and the answers that we are ready for and that we are open to. And so there are people who sometimes will struggle with getting intuitive yes and no answers. And often, and I used to do this early on in my practice, absolutely. I would ask questions hoping for an answer that was specific. I'm like, I'm asking, but I really want you to come back with this specific answer. And so if I didn't receive the answer, a yes or a no, whatever it is I was looking for, I would maybe try again, or I would be unsettled, or I would believe it and then be like stressed out. And that wasn't actually working very well for me. And so it took a little while to realize that in order to receive the truth, we have to step back from our expectations, our preconceived notions, our opinions that are not based in spiritual or intuitive truth, but more so based on our longings or our beliefs or our wants or things like that. And we're not coming from a bad place wanting what we want. It's just that sometimes we don't know the better that's actually waiting for us or the path that's going to lead us to more soul growth, which is truly what we're actually here on earth to do. We are here to learn and to adjust and to adapt to the challenges that come our way rather than just sail through and have everything be like super floaty easy. Which is not to say that life has to be difficult. Please don't get me twisted. I think life doesn't have to be super difficult, super super tough. Okay, so I also wanted to say I feel like oracles and oracle tools are an extension of our consciousness. And so they're an extension of like our subconscious, but also our collective conscious in many ways. So it's not an external authority as such. I personally don't use. You may use it in a different way, and you're totally welcome to, right? I'm just sort of teaching from the way that I find beneficial for me and for people that I've worked with for a number of years. I think the reason that I don't hand the pendulum power over to, or the oracle deck power over to an external authority or some being outside of me, is that it can often feel as though we dim our own power. And in that process, we're sort of denying the fact that we could find our own answers. But I don't believe that that means we're being egocentric. I really do feel that we are open to like source knowledge, and it's a much wider consciousness. It's a much wider expanse that we are all able to connect to. We all connect to it already in dreams, and when we daydream, when we have a bright idea, we are all connected to this non ordinary realm. So I believe that it is an extension of consciousness, and we are able to help clear the path and receive that information. And so it's also important that we ask good questions. So I do want to talk about that first. The clearer that your energy, your thoughts, your mind, your emotional space, even your body, the clearer that those are, the clearer the answer that you'll receive, right? So I wouldn't say it's an ideal time when you are peak stress and very flustered and overwhelmed, um, or even like angry or something in that kind of way. That would be a difficult time to get a clear answer. But often it's when people are stressed or triggered that they might go to try and find answers on something. So I understand why we feel that. That's why we start with a few deep breaths. And if you are coming to a practice at some point and you are in a high high emotional state and you're looking for the clear answers, you're looking for the real truth, if that's what you really want, um, but you don't feel settled, I would recommend that you take a long walk and that you try not to focus on the problems at hand, but that you simply focus on your body and on nature and on noticing nice things, and just focus on your senses until you feel as though you are able to address from a more neutral place. And then you also need to do the mindset work, the emotional or belief work, which is that actually we often don't know the right way. We often don't know the answers um, for sure when we're in that state. We usually see something we want in that state or we would hope for. Sometimes it's such an innocent hope. And so really arriving at a place of neutrality where no matter what the answer is, you are open to receiving what that looks like. That is actually necessary for getting a clear answer. So when we're in the troubleshooting time in the Zoom call, if anyone is struggling with feeling like they've gotten the truth, or if there's ever been a time where you've done intuitive work and then it feels like, well, it didn't give you the right answers, so you must not be intuitive, I'm sure that there's some sort of holdup we can help you with that helps pull on what it was that was standing in the way of you actually receiving the truth. And like I said, sometimes I think we are given the information that we can handle also at that time. So there are reasons, for example, this one comes up a lot. This one has come up for me personally in the past. I first started using a pendulum because I was asking about like relationship decisions and career decisions. And with relationship decisions, there's often a reason that we're meant to be in someone's life and meant to be in that relationship. And so if we are asking, do I stay with them forever? And the pendulum says yes, it's because that's the information you're actually needing at that time, because there may be a reason that you're meant to believe that and stay in that relationship at that moment in order to continue the rest of whatever that learning lesson is. And then later on, you test and it goes, no, 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 you're not meant to stay with that person. And you go, well, how could that be? Because that's actually how it is now. And that's what spirit needs you to understand now. So it is kind of about humbling ourselves and thinking, yeah, it's not about trying to be a know it all or about trying to solve every single little thing or use it as solely a tool to settle our anxieties about the unknown, but it is about finding clarity. So I know that can be a bit of a challenging road. At the same time, we're all human, and what fun way to explore. So let's get into it. I think it's important to avoid big yes no questions on like huge destiny type things. And that's why the like, will this be my forever person can be like a huge destiny type of question. Will I like create generational wealth? Like maybe, but I think it's important to ask more directional, more focused, more grounded questions, and more clear, more specific as well, best we can. And I always avoid the word should when I'm framing questions for intuitive. I try to avoid it in general, but I definitely avoid it when I'm asking intuitive questions, because should, and the word should is coming from a place of pressure, from an external source usually. So if you say like, should I quit my job? Well, like, says who, right? And you might ask, is quitting my job supportive to my expansion? Is quitting my job ideal in the next 2 months? Right? Like, get a time frame or something, just so you can be like, okay, is it okay in this time? No, it's not ideal in the next 2 months. Phew, okay, I can relax, sort of my options, and maybe test at month 3. That doesn't mean test every week of the next 2 months to see which week it's going to be. It is about, now can we put something into action about that? Maybe you're asking further questions. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of like constantly repeating questions. I think it leads us down a road where we end up getting much more muddled, and that is not helpful to the cause. And as well, sometimes answers intuitively can come in as sensations, colors, feelings, words, phrases, a random voice. It can come in as like just a passing thought, or a body sensation that is like unusual. You maybe are like, oh, I'm not used to that feeling. What's going on there? And so, yeah, it's not always the same way as well. Also, I think some people also get it through scent or taste or other things as well. And over time, you can begin to develop a bit of a system. Okay, this is what this means for me. This is what that means for me. If I see an elephant, but you see an elephant, we might have totally different interpretations of what that signifies at some point, right? So, just about understanding our own framework in our own brains. So, let's start with an oracle deck, which I hilariously don't have right in front of me. I usually have one in super close proximity, but I just got back here. So, okay. So, I'm going to start with oracle cards. So, I'm going to do a little bit more on this because it was some of the feedback from Oracle Fest attendees or potential attendees, uh, that they just want to know some of the basics, like how to use some Oracle decks. And I thought, wow, I've been using Oracle decks for so many years, I forgot. Some people might not even know and might not be used to working with them. So here's how I work with them. I do a shuffle and then they come flying out. So it's hard to show up here. That one just flipped around. So 2 of them flipped around here. I place them back in other spots. A lot of people like to shuffle for a while. I like to do that. If I haven't used a deck for a while, I like to shuffle for a little bit before I actually trust any of the cards coming out. Now, I do this kind of chaotic, it's a very much a fire sign way of pulling cards. So I do this sort of chaotic thing where, okay, they fall out and I know exactly that's what I'm meant to do. This has been natural for me for a long time. There are a lot of different ways to pull oracle decks, oracle cards. Some people will spread them out like so and then put their hand over, maybe feel out. This is what my father does when I show him oracle decks. He's not really an intuitive dude, so it's great when he does pull an oracle card. It's quite fun for me to watch. But he'll spread them out on the floor and sort of like buzz scan over them and like hover like the claw, pick one. And some people, it's, we calmly shuffle. I know a lot of earth signs and water signs that are like, we're so gentle. We're just going to like shuffle all our cards in a, I can't even do it. Oh, we're just going to shuffle our cards in like a really nice way. I love my earthy signs. I love my water signs. And then they might just pick the top one off and say, "Oh, that's what it is." Often a lot of people will also check. I do this. I'll check the bottom of the deck just to see what's there. Usually it's like what's hidden or what's unseen, what's underneath the surface. You can kind of consider it that way. So if you are asking a question for insight that is more broad, that is when I would often use an oracle deck. I would probably pick an oracle deck if you have multiple. If you have one, that's fine, just use the one. But if you have multiple, I would pick an oracle deck that might relate to your question versus what, if you're asking a career question, but then you pull a romance angels card, it's going to be a little confusing to figure out exactly what you're supposed to do about your career. You know what I mean? So I pulled this Botanical Inspirations Oracle deck, which has all these flowers and beautiful words and quotations on them, because I'm looking for guidance for the next 24 hours. I'm closing out my life for now in the Highlands of Scotland in the next 2 days here. And so I just am looking for a general approach. So this is not a yes or no question because this deck it would be a little challenging to have yeses or nos. If you use a tarot deck, you can do yes or nos. I personally don't know the entire system, like each one, but you can easily look up if you're doing a yes and no. I've definitely done this before. You pull one tarot card, is it in my best interest to do this or that or the other thing? You add, it would just be this, not this or that, but is it in my highest and best interest to do the thing? And then you would pull a card. Then I can easily look it up. Google tarot card, whatever it is you pulled, yes or no. And you can find, does that often signify a yes or a no? In the Oracle deck that I am currently creating, there are yes, nos, and maybes because I do think it's important to be able to get those quick and clear, concise answers. But for this question right now, this is more of an approach. How might I approach the next 24 hours? And so I'm looking for more of a broad stroke, more of an overarching thing. Now, tarot can be used in that way of like what type of energy may arise. And tarot can be also quite divination focused or predictive. And oracle decks can be as well. And they can all flex in some kind of way. But I would say I personally lean to tarot decks when I'm looking for more insights about the future. Oracle decks are a little mix of both, where I'm looking for sort of in the moment and yeah, definitely approach or positive messaging or expansion or growth. Oh, this is it's a very interesting card to get. It feels revealing to share this actually because I got tuberose, which is dangerous pleasure, and I'm like, well, I got a pack. I don't know if I'm gonna have time for that. And it says, the secret of reaping the greatest fruitfulness and the greatest enjoyment from life is to live dangerously. So that is actually telling me it's matching, if you've been listening to my personal reflections as well on my Heart's Frontier YouTube, it is matching this sort of live a little idea that's been coming up and sort of saying, don't take it too seriously. Let yourself just really enjoy. And I was a bit worried earlier today that I might get a bit too serious with my packing. Oh, am I doing everything right? Am I fixing it all before I go? Da 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 da. Am I going to make the wrong decisions about what I'm bringing since I'm probably only going to bring a carry-on and a suitcase, so it's pretty trim for the next 6 months. And so I was sort of going over in my head, a little bit worried. And this is telling me, like, enjoy yourself, enjoy the last, tomorrow will be the last day, last night in this beautiful place, and with my friend, and with her daughter, very, very sweet, and with the goat and the lamb and the sheep and the ducks, the chickens, just the dog. So just to enjoy. I don't know if it's dangerous, but living dangerously, I'll keep an eye out. I'll keep an eye out for it. Thank you, Tuber Rose. And so then I'll show you the bottom of the deck as well, because that's another technique we can use here. The bottom of the deck here is Destiny, which is Camellia. It's beautiful. It's a William Shakespeare quotation. Part of the reason I like this deck because they have nice quotations. And says, "It is not in the stars to hold our destiny, but in ourselves." So kind of takes the pressure off. And there's also really nice stars here. But that does the idea of destiny and knowing this is the right thing. I'm meant to do this. It keeps me from second guessing. So what's unseen is this is my destiny. So you're not doing the wrong thing, Kate. You're meant to continue traveling on. So that's Oracle Decks. I would love to also get into greater detail about deeper ways we can use Oracle Decks. This is a very simple, quick question answer. If someone has been intimidated or has been a bit afraid to use their Oracle Decks or to get one for themselves, hopefully that helps you see just how easy and supportive it can be. And it gives you this quick check in with yourself. It's more important not what card it is, but how you are feeling, how you are interpreting. So that dangerous pleasure one is pretty funny. I'm gonna chuckle about that the rest of the night because it feels very exposing to show oh, this is what I have to deal with tomorrow as I pack up this house. It's not very exciting, but well, I'll get some pleasure out of it. Maybe not dangerous ones though. Okay, so that's our Oracle. Let me know if anyone has any questions about Oracle cards, Oracle decks. I'm happy to show more Oracle decks. I'd actually love to show you more of the Oracle Fest Oracle decks. We're going to be here for another 10 or so minutes, and then I'm going to switch into the Zoom room. So anyone who is part of the Trusting Your Visions Deeper journey, please make sure you reach out to me if you haven't received the link for, and I'm just double checking, I did get a WhatsApp. No, it's safe. Okay. So let me know if anyone wants in on the Zoom room to ask questions directly and to workshop and to check in about your whole Trusting Your Visions journey so far. I am amazed so far that at all the little subtle ways that this is already impacting me. And we're only on day 4, day 4 of 43. So we still have 39 more days left together. It's going to be really fun. Together with the big group, especially because YouTube will only get the little pieces. Okay, so let's do some pendulum work. If you have never used a pendulum and you don't have a pendulum and you don't know what I'm talking about, all I'm saying is we're using some heavy thing on the end of a string. I know people who have used a key on a piece of floss. I know people who have used a needle and thread, but they put something at the bottom of the needle just so it has a bit of weight. It's important to have the weight at the bottom because it keeps things moving. And so this is a pendulum that I really enjoy using. It's just a very simple brass pendulum. And yeah, I have it in my wallet almost all the time, just in case I'm ever out in public and need to make a decision. Like I can't decide pizza or tacos. Um, no, I don't actually use it for food anymore. But at one point in my life, I did, because I was really overwhelmed. I was overthinking everything. I was doing healing work and I wasn't doing as much spiritual work at the time. I was doing more body healing work, but it was becoming very spirit full because I was receiving a lot of information. I was in a relationship that I absolutely needed to leave within, the next couple months or so after that. It was a time where I felt really exhausted and it just felt like I cannot even think about dinner. I cannot even think about what to do with my whole life. It was a very overwhelming time and pendulum helped me cut through the noise. And so time and time again, if I feel like I just am like I am not getting a clear answer on this in my heart and something feels muddled, I sometimes will bring out this pendulum and just see, hey, how are we feeling on this? Sometimes it's just a double check. I'm feeling pretty good. Wait, am I just in my ego a little bit? Let's double check with the pendulum and see what we're thinking, see what's actually really true. And I then really have to say, okay, whatever the real answer is, it is. So I'm going to put my thing to the side and just accept whatever it is coming through today. So first you need to calibrate it, which is show me a yes, and mine is a circle, but yours could be a line. Yours could be a otherwise circle, like a clockwise versus counterclockwise. Yours can be however. What you ask is show me a yes. For me, this is what it is. Show me a yes. And then show me a no. And you see mine went very quickly, very responsive. I talk to this pendulum all the time. We are best buddies, a little extension of my consciousness, this pendulum. So you say, show me a yes, and it might take you longer, okay? So don't rush yourself. I'm just going quickly because we're only here for a limited time. So show me a yes, and then show me a no. So now I can tell I'm connected because there's a difference between the two. It responded pretty quickly, and I can feel myself feeling a yes, and I feel myself feeling a no. Contraction, no. My eyebrow does this. And then show me a yes feels like a little bit taller. I breathe easier. Then you ask a question that you absolutely know the answer to. Is my name Charles? No. right? I could say my birthday and double check that this is my birthday. I'm listing my birthday in my head right now. Yes, that is my birthday. And so it changes to a yes. Okay. So you just double check some questions so you know you have this trust. Um, and then you can have like a more lighthearted decision. Like you don't have to go right to the serious thing first. You can just like continue connecting and checking with it. Um, you know, I could ask a question about like my packing. Um, do I need to bring uh, I don't know. Do I need this is a silly one because I have a shampoo bar that's like a solid shampoo bar, and then I have a liquid shampoo. I could just leave the liquid shampoo until I'm back in Scotland next year, right? Like I'm back in like a few months. Do I need to bring my liquid shampoo with me, or will I? Will I bring my liquid shampoo with me? And that's probably a good call because it's like much easier to just bring the dry shampoo and then I don't have to worry about liquids on a plane. So there you go. That's my answer. Super easy. One more packing decision done. Very easy. But then we might want to ask a deeper question. And this is where we do yes or no. Now, to be fair, I didn't ask you, but you can also check what is a maybe. Show me uncertain or show me maybe. Yeah, and mine goes really quiet in the center and kind of just does this weird like I don't know. And that's uncertain is when it's like "Ugh, we can't answer this. You know, we can't do it right now. There's something either your question is funky or you're funky or you're not meant to know anything about this. This is not a good path, right, to talk about. Is sort of the feeling I get when this uncertain thing comes in. And if it's a maybe, for me, I get like a diagonal almost. It's like the no is straight no, and then the diagonal is like, well, depending on the circumstances. And so then that actually for me is usually an invitation to clarify the questions, to think a little bit differently about how I'm asking the question. So it might be like if you're asking, especially relational questions, a maybe, it's like, yeah, you're sort of right, but you're sort of wrong. Like it's going to be like that, but it's going to be a bit different than what you're thinking. And so that would be a good, you continue fleshing it out. If this process begins to stress you out, put her down. We do not need to be stressing out. This is a time to be calm, clear, and open, connected to source, connected to spirit. See what happens. It's like a much more yeah, it's much more of a relaxed mindset is what we're looking at. We're looking to be in the back of the mind, receiving mode, almost like daydreaming mode, right? And daydreaming mode is a lot more drifty, a lot more loose, a lot more go with the flow. So it's very difficult for you to get into that daydreaming mode. That's why a walk first sometimes can be helpful, right? Just get into this sort of like more gentle energy. And then you might also combine these, right? So you might get some questions and then ask about how to go about those questions being answered. So you might, for example, my day tomorrow, this dangerous pleasure and destiny idea. I might then ask about ways that I might experience dangerous pleasure. Is this a way to help with that card? Is this a way to help with that card? To get these yes and no's. Is that gonna support you? So it is a really great tool for anyone who feels as though they are a little disconnected or want to connect further to themselves, maybe feel as though they or you have um, not lost connection with yourself, but more you're slipping with the trust that you have in yourself. I believe that this is a really great oracle cards, tarot cards, pendulums are a really great way to build that trust because for a lot of us, seeing is believing. And so this is sort of like cheating the system that we don't just have to believe in the unseen, we can actually see it with our eyes. And I also teach a whole bunch of other ways of using pendulum. So I'm happy to do more of this in the future as well for people or in the live Q&As. I'm happy to keep teaching tools. I have a bunch of pendulum charts that I've designed. As well, I teach chakra pendulum readings to help get an energy read, just like we did in the body mapping on day 3. We can do a chakra pendulum reading, almost a body mapping that gives us even more detail. So we can cross reference all of those. And it's important that you also double check after you're done any of these questions and answer periods with yourself. You check in with yourself. How are you feeling? right? Because it's not about getting the answer, it's also about acting upon the answer. We're not just trying to pull something from the ether and then do nothing with it and toss it out the window. We're actually looking to trust our visions, do something with it. And that's exactly why I created this challenge, this 6-week journey, so that we can join each other on how can we actually be brave and step forward with trusting ourselves, hopefully in some way. So would love to know what you are working on or what you're hoping for out of this journey at this point, and what is your favorite tool that we've taught so far as well, the body mapping, the clearing the energy, um, the oracle and the pendulum. Did I do another one? We did our opening ceremony as well, so we were connecting to our inner oracle. um, and so when you are trusting what you are hearing, right? When I say when you're starting to feel stressed out, that's a time to pause. I would also say that when you're feeling expansive, it feels like you're opening up. That's the direction that we want to be heading. If it feels like you're starting to contract and starting to feel tense, that is a pause, regroup. Maybe do we need to talk about this subject? Sometimes the pendulum will not speak too much, or you might feel it's difficult. There are some times where I'm pulling a card and it feels like it's difficult. One doesn't want to jump out. And I go, maybe it's actually not the right time to answer that question. Maybe I just don't need to ask this right now. There can be these feelings of we just, let's just hold up for a second. Okay. So expanse versus contract energy, open versus, closing in, shutting down. And the more that you actually act on all of these small intuitive decisions, pizza versus tacos, right? This is how you build a relationship with trusting yourself. It is this simple, it is this profound as well, because the clearer your guidance, the clearer you are with saying, I need to do this, I need to actually act upon the intuition, the intuitive hits that I'm receiving, then the clearer the guidance also becomes, because it's like there's a clear pathway. you know um, it's not like someone has to explain the instructions 5 times 5 different ways to you. Spirit's like, hey, you're pretty good at listening, why don't we just tell you what this next thing is, or why don't we just let you go in this direction, this one's going to be more fun, easier, more pleasurable for whatever reason. Okay. So tomorrow we are getting into dream work. We are getting to so many topics this week. It feels very exciting. I really like how jam-packed this 6-week journey is. It makes me very happy personally to be running through all of these. So we're going to be exploring dream work and also future visioning over the next couple of days here. Dream work is actually where I got started in my journey of teaching intuitive practices. Before that, I had an in-person healing practice. And when the pandemic hit, I thought I'd really love to help people with opening up to their dreams and opening up access, because it felt like a time where a lot of people were inside, and it's a perfect time to actually be able to quiet down, quiet the mind, and start receiving from your dreams. So, intuition is speaking to us even as we rest. How easy is that? Yeah. And if you don't often remember your dreams, I would highly suggest you come on out, because maybe it will unlock something. I have had that happen before, where people have not been dreaming for quite a long time, and then suddenly they hear something and something opens up in their mind and they're able to receive more from their dreams. Or maybe you're just not getting much from your dreams, you'd like to reconnect to them. I think it would be a really special time. So I will be sharing that tomorrow. Because we are live today, I'll probably wake up tomorrow morning and record and post that. So it'll be maybe posted around 9 or 10 a.m. UK time. So a little bit later than normal, but for most of you over in North America, which is where I can see most of the signups are from so far, and our main demographic on YouTube, should be fine. You should all wake up and see it. So fingers crossed. And I'll send out another email tomorrow as well when that video is done. So I would love to answer some questions in the Zoom room. So I'm going to hop over there. It's been a joy serving all of you here. Would love to know what you thought of this, how you experienced it. Whenever it is you're watching, if you're watching the replay, type replay in the chat. I'd love to see it. And of course, we do have live calls and the WhatsApp group, and the replays will be available by the end of this. And you also get a guide if you join the full Trusting Your Visions journey or the Star All Access Pass. And we are going to be joining live at random times throughout, because I want to make sure that different people can join at different times. So originally I was just going to do the same times, like 1 or 2 times a week. But I always hate when someone's not able to make it out to any of them and they've paid for this. And so I'm just trying this way. We've got 6 weeks, so I'm sure you'll be able to join them. But if you ever have a question and you know you're not going to be at the call, then you can absolutely email us, message, DM us on OracleFest or team@oraclefest.com. And you can find all that on oraclefest.com. And then I'll be able to answer your questions in the live, and hopefully then you can watch the replay. Okay, well, enjoy the rest of your day, evening, everyone. I'm going to blow out this candle, keep the fire going. Hopefully, you're cozy wherever you are. I know that back in Canada, it's already started snowing. So keep cozy wherever it is you are, and we will chat soon. I'll be back tomorrow for dream work and future visions.